What's up, guys? We got another game. We have the black pieces this time against Andreas Pop, 1354. We're going to play the PIRC defense. And white um, pushes an early e5. This is premature. It threatens the knight, threatens the pawn, but we were in this position, and the reason we put our pawn on d6 is to stop white from playing e5. And if he wants to play e5, he has to prepare it with, like f4 and then knight f3, stuff like that. He just pushes immediately, so we're gonna take immediately. He recaptures. What does this threaten? My knight, but it also opens up the d file. You'll notice there's a queen trade available, and I'm going to get this queen trade, force his king to move to the side. Now he can't castle. Now my knight's under attack. I have to move it, and if you move it to g4, it attacks this pawn and it forks. So you automatically win material, and this is why pushing e5 on move 3 is a mistake. This is actually all PIRC theory that you kind of need to know, because you always need to know what to do when they push e5. So he moves his king and defends the pawn. Doesn't threaten anything. Drawback is he could have moved it to e1, but now he's blocking his bishop for some reason. I'm just going to take the free pawn. I'm up a pawn, and he lost castling rights. Black's already winning. So he develops a bishop. It comes with a tempo on the knight. If we move the knight without a strong threat, there's a pawn hanging behind it, so we have to consider that. I think we should just leave it there if we can and develop another piece. Let's say our knight, which supports the other knight. So now white develops his knight, one of his pieces, which makes sense. Opens up the rook, has a couple jumps. Logical. I think we should develop a piece with a threat on the pawn. That way, that doesn't give him time to bring his rook here, because let's go back. Let's say I didn't threaten the pawn and he moved his rook here. Now I can't long castle. So by making him address this, well, he doesn't address it, he ignores it and jumps his knight in, saying, if you take my pawn, I'll give you this fork. But my intention was to long castle all along. Long castling defends against the threat, and it also comes with the threat on the knight. So now there's two things that are hit. And now I'm happy that my king is long castled and I got that out of the way, because then okay, so I was gonna say, because then all I need to do is bring out my pieces and I'm winning. So he takes my knight with his bishop unprovoked. What does this threaten? Well, he just takes a piece. I have to take it back, but I could take this back, but I want the bishop, of course. The bishop's a lot stronger. It's an open center. There's no pawns in the middle. His knight was being hit by my rook, so he retreats it with a tempo on my bishop while defending the pawn. So 2 and 1 makes sense from him. I like my bishop. I don't want to give it up, and he's still stuck. So I'm just going to drop it back one square, leave it on the nice diagonal. So he notices his king's in the way, so he decides to fianchetto. That makes sense. It does weaken the light squares a little bit over here and here. Something to keep in mind. Like if I give a check later. So anyway, I want to develop my dark square bishop, and I can go e6. This also stops both knight jumps, which he couldn't do anyway because of my pieces, but it still is nice to do that, and it opens up my bishop. He goes f4. This threatens the knight. Drawback is he's not developing. His king is still in the center. It weakens some dark squares. And I'm just going to move the knight. I'm not going to let him take it unless I have a stronger counter threat. You could do something like bishop in here, but he has ways to stop that. I don't see anything wrong with just putting my knight here on a very nice square. Extremely natural, defends my king, but also has good attacking jumps. Okay, so now he stops the jumps, but the downside is it's a waste of time. He's not developing at all. And this knight is fine where it is. So the most natural thing would just be to develop my last minor piece. So we'll just do that. We'll connect the rooks. We can double the rooks. We have bishop moves. But I think getting a rook here is probably the plan at this point, now that all our pieces are developed. He brings out our minor piece. It looks at the center a little bit. No real drawback. It's about time he finally developed. There is a pin here I could do. Not entirely sure about it. I kind of just want to double. Is there a good square to bring my rook up to? No. I don't want to block my bishop, so rook d7 it is. So he insta-moves here. What does this threaten? I guess he just wants to put a knight here, and when I take, he wants to jump the other knight there to trade a piece. I'll give him that piece. I don't really see... Well, let's see. If I double my rooks, and he jumps, and I take, and he goes, well, I give it check. So I can always move my bishop if I wanted. But even if he takes it, who cares? I'm up a pawn, and my rooks will be infiltrated. Will have infiltrated. Oh. Oh, no. That wasn't a tactic, because if king goes out of the way, bishop defends. Okay. So anyway, he goes b4, hitting my bishop. The threat is my bishop taking my bishop. The drawback is it's another pawn move, waste time. I guess he wants to kick my knight after and then put something here. It's possible. But if I go check, he has to go here. What do we have there? Do we have nothing? Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any good follow-ups. Takes. Yeah, I don't really see it. So if I move back and he pushes, and I go to the side and he jumps in, I guess I just move my rook, like it's no big deal. So I guess maybe you could consider this diagonal, but I'm going to keep the king cut off because this removes his escape options. He doesn't go for kicking the knight, he goes for trapping the bishop. You can easily avoid this by moving the a pawn 1 or 2 squares ahead. Either one looks like it works. I want to set something up. How do I set something up though? I guess you can't really. I'm just going to create the little luft square for my bishop for when he does this. And I mean, he moved his pawns, but okay, he finally moves his bishop, but now it's off this diagonal. And he needed his bishop there to defend his knight with king e1. So now the fork works. So he was holding on, holding on. As you can see, our pieces were on really good spots. The only thing is we could have improved our knight, so maybe like here and here, right? Which is what we might have had to do if he didn't just blunder an entire piece. Okay, so now he makes some more pawn moves because why not? H4 doesn't threaten anything. The king is super cut off. It has no square, so a check would be a checkmate. But maybe I shouldn't look for a checkmate. I don't necessarily need a checkmate right now. I'm just gonna go for improving my knight anyway. He improves his knight, comes with a threat on 3 different things, but it relinquishes control over this square, which is what I was waiting for, kinda. I mean, he can win a pawn here, but I don't really care because I'm up a piece. He could check, I take, and then he takes this, hitting my rook, but then I move my rook, and I'm infiltrated already, and I'm up a piece. So it may look good for him, like enticing. He thinks, what did he just do? He took a bishop, which I'm fine with. It was a good bishop, but I take his bishop, which is also strong. He goes back to where he came from. This threatens pawns, but I'm already attacking pawns. Like, I'm not going to stop and defend. I could also put my rook here, try to set up some checkmate threats. But I'm going to take his stuff because I don't want to lose on time again. Now he's hitting my rook, so I'll move it up. I'm going to move quicker since I have 50 seconds. He hits my rook. I'll take a pawn. He moves his king up. We'll just go here. He goes there. I'll just double stack so I can trade stuff because it's supported by my bishop secretly. It's hard to see this bishop if you're not paying attention, all the way tucked in the corner. Okay, I'll pin the rook so he can't move it. He can't take because then he'll hang his other rook. I'm just kind of making random moves with the time situation. Hold on. He moves his king. He kind of boxes himself in. Maybe I could improve my knight here, here, here. That's not a mate. I don't know. Figure something out. Okay, but now this is a mate. I was looking at this, check, but I couldn't put my... Okay, so he just sacks. I have 20 seconds to win. I need to take his knight, because it'll be so much easier if I don't have to try to calculate knight stuff. Okay, now I'm just going to take the knight. Okay, 15 seconds. I should be able to get it done now that I have this position. Oops, I almost stalemated him. Joke's on you, I'm going this way. The easiest way to pre-move a checkmate is the ladder mate. Best way to do that is 2 queens. Let me get this guy out of the way so he doesn't block and cause any stalemates. I'll go here. Check. Check. I don't know, just cut him off. And then check.